Hello, artists. I know when you're thinking about building an art business and it's just percolating in your head, you're excited about the idea. You know that you have to sell a lot of art in order to quit your 9 to 5 job, and you're thinking, well, what is the fastest way? And that's what we're going to touch today. Okay. Now, my name is Ting. We haven't met yet. I'm an artist and an art business coach. I've been selling my art via online at art shows, art galleries, and the past 13 years, I operated my own art gallery. Okay, now today's subject is in regards to what's the fastest and most effective way to sell your art and to build an art business. I have sold my art many ways, as I was mentioning, but I have to say that there is a huge proportion advantage to selling your art in person. Okay, there is actually a huge, it's almost like a landslide of difference. So if you're thinking about starting your art business, and I know most artists are thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do it online because it looks easier. And you're thinking, well, I'm going to open a website and I'm going to put my artwork in there and then it's just going to sell. Well, I hate to burst the bubble, but this is not how it works. Now, the online sales conversion is 2.8%, whereas selling in person is 20 to 40%. Okay, that's a huge difference. That's why, as I was talking about selling in person, it's just there's a big difference because it's just easier to build an art business when you're actually one on one with people. Okay, when you have an interaction, it's easier to build a trust and like factor. Therefore, it's easier to build a business much faster that way. So, but rest assured, we're not going to say ditch the online business because I believe there's advantages and disadvantage of both. And I'm going to go through the list of what the advantages are and what the disadvantages are. Okay, we're going to start off with the advantages of what selling in person is. Okay, so I have 9 points to make. So the first one is it's number one is an impression builder. Okay, when you're selling art, it really is about connection. It's about building that connection with your customer. Okay. So when you are actually interacting with somebody, when somebody coming into your booth or coming into your art gallery, you can introduce yourself and your art to that person, and you will make a much better and more memorable impression on that person. Okay. So you're able to build a trust and like factor quite quickly. Number two, it's a chameleon approach. Okay, what I mean by a chameleon approach is that when you are interacting with a person, you can see the person's body language. All right, so by knowing what the body language is, you can adjust how you approach the person. You can think about questions you can ask the person to get into the world, to have a better connection. And if you have a better connection, it's just so much easier to sell your art. Number three is less distractions. That is huge. Online world is very noisy. So online world, you actually has 5 seconds to hook someone's attention and to grab that person's attention and you keep them there. Whereas if the person is in your booth or in the gallery, it's different. You can have a much longer attraction with them. You can give them a nice intro to your art, and you can also give them the tagline of what your art is about. And this will definitely attract their attention much faster. And also, you don't only have 5 seconds to do so. Now, number four, you can sell more art. And that is so true. When you are in person with, when you're doing in person sales in the booth or art gallery, you actually have time to sell more because that person is there, right? If a person is looking at your artwork and is impressed with, let's say this artwork, right? And because that person is there, you can actually upsell the person. You can say, well, I actually have the perfect piece to actually match with this one. They will complement each other perfectly. And the other way you can do it is also the fact that you can say, well, I also have frames. If you want to see what it looks like frame, let me show you what it looks like. So you can upsell a person so much easier if you sell in person. Number five is expression and brand experience. That is so true. When you have a gallery or booth, you can actually exude your brand. Okay, what your brand feels like. Does it feel hip? Does it feel soothing? You know, when you exude that experience via your decor and how you talk and how you interact with a person, it makes a big difference because it'll make a person feel comfortable, and it will also make a person just want to stay a little longer and browse. Okay, and eventually, when the browsing time takes longer, he or she will find a piece of art that will connect with. Okay. And number 6, it will also speed up subscriber list. That is so true. Now, to when a person come to your booth or in your gallery, and maybe the time is not right to purchase a piece of art because maybe because of budget restraint or whatever it is, but you can actually ask a person if they would like to subscribe to your newsletters, and that will make a huge difference. When you ask a person to subscribe to the newsletters in person, the rate of actually having them to sign up is so much bigger than if it was online. And number 7, memorable service. Memorable service is so important. When you are with a person, you can give them amazing service by the way you have the rapport with them, the way you converse with them, the way you describe your art, the kind of conversations you have, and a lot of other service you can have. Like for instance, whenever I sell my original, I always ask them if they would like the story placard to go with it, and they always say yes. And by just asking questions like that, or saying, I'm going to package it properly so that your shipping will be very well set up so that you can travel with, so you don't have to worry about it. Just having conversations really help to basically elevate your service. And with having elevated service, you can also make friendship with that customer. Okay, and when you form friendship with that customer and you make that connection, I'm telling you, that customer will purchase from you again and again. You will have made a customer for life. And I have sold art to people that I've sold art to over 20 years ago, and that's the reason why, because I know how to talk to people, and I always love to give people the best service possible. And that really, built a special kind of connection that you can't just easily get online. And number 8, it's also an objection buster. Okay, when somebody is in your gallery or in your booth and that person has something that, maybe they looked at an artwork they really like, but they don't care for the frame. Okay, if that's their objection, you can somehow correct it so that you'll be able to serve that person exactly the way they want to be served. So if the frame is not correct, you can say, hey, I also have different frame. Let's look at it in a different frame, in a red frame, and see what you think of it, right? So it really is an objection buster. You can help to solve the person's objection immediately, and this way you can make a sale quite easily. And number 9, better conversion. Like I said, the conversion in-person sale is so much better. It's 20 to 40%, and that is huge, right? And if you're really good at it, you can raise it up to 60% or more. And I've had many, many years of experience, so I do have a higher conversion rate because of that. It's all about experience, and it's about practice, okay? The more you practice and the more you feel confident and the less scared you would be. Okay, so it's all about practice, talking to people, practicing it, and knowing what works and what doesn't work. Okay, now we're moving on to the benefits of online sales. Number 1, it's comfort. Okay, it is comfortable. I have to say, online sales is comfortable. You can be in your PJ all day long. You can basically fulfill orders in your PJs. That's very comfortable. I agree. That is wonderful. It's scalable with masses. Number 2, scalable with masses. So if you have a business that is subscription, as well as selling online courses, being online is huge because you can scale it. You are basically talking to a mass, so you can build it faster if you have subscription business or you have online courses. Number 3, no high rent to pay. All right, isn't that wonderful? You don't have to pay high rent. You don't need a storefront, and this way, it's less expensive, but there's other way that you can spend your money online as well, which we will touch later. Number 4, no commute. You don't have to get into the car. You don't have to drive to the location. And especially in the winter, you don't have to clean up your car, clean the snow off the car, and then get in there, warm up the car and all of that. So number 4 is huge for me as well, the no commute. Okay. So as you can see, the pros of the in-person as well as the online sales, quite different. And now let's talk about the disadvantage of in-person sales, okay? Number one is overhead costs. It is costly to run a business if you have a gallery settings or if you're in booth, okay? The better and more traffic it has, the more it would cost you, okay? That is just, it's just the overhead cost in doing business. Number two is a time sucker. Okay, it really is because you have to abide by, like let's say if your gallery or your show is in a certain, okay, let's say the gallery first. Okay, in the gallery, because it's in a retail spot, I have to abide by the hours that other people are keeping so that I'm not the one that's like the sore thumb, right? That's just, how come that business is not open? That just gives you a really bad reputation. So you have to keep your hours. If you say you're open from 10 to 6, you're open from 10 to 6. You're not going to say, well, 4 o'clock, well, it's really slow, I'm just going to go home. You can't do that, okay? So it does take your time. And same as if you have a booth at a show, you're not just going to say, well, this show is really slow, I'm just going to pack up and leave, and that's not good, okay? So the disadvantage of in-person sale is time sucking. Okay, and number two, oh, sorry, that was number two. And number three is employee problems. Employee problems is huge. Hiring somebody to sell art is very different, because selling art, you really need to have a certain kind of knowledge about art and how to approach people, right? So, and also, when you train somebody to sell art, it's very time consuming, and sometimes it just doesn't add up, right? It's really hard to find the right sales associate. Sometimes the sales associate will end up costing you more money than making you money, all right? Number four, energy depletion. Is so true about that. Energy depletion, because when you're interacting with a person one-on-one, it takes a lot of energy because it's a cerebral activity, right? You're connecting with that person, and so it's very cerebral. You're always thinking about what's the best way to connect with this person, because everybody is different. That's why it takes a lot of energy to sell in person. Number five, it's you have to deal with the public moods. Dealing with public moods can be very draining. For example, the 20 odd years that I have been in business, I have to say I've been very lucky. I've only had maybe dealt with rude people, in one hand, like that I can count in one hand. It's very rare, but when it does happen, it's very shocking to your system. Okay, so those are the disadvantage of in-person sale. Now, what is the disadvantage to selling online? Number one is a time sucker. So it is still a time sucker, because if you want to sell online very well, you have to spend a lot of time on social media. Okay, because then that is basically like your store, right? You're there, you're broadcasting about your art, you're promoting yourself, and etc. Number two, it's a consistent battle, because you have to deal with it in social media as well as other platforms, for example, YouTube and all of that. And it is a consistent battle because people are really, some people are really good at selling online. So you got to know the effective way to sell online. You got to know the effective way to promote yourself. All right. And then sometimes the platform's always changing, like Meta is always changing. You always have to learn something new. Therefore, it is also very time consuming. Number three, short attention span. My goodness, online world is very, very busy. So I would have to say from my statistic that I have done the research on, is that a person will only spend average 15 seconds on your website. What does that mean? That means your front page, basically your home page, has to attract them. Okay, your home page has to attract them within the 15 seconds, or else they're out. So if you have a website that's slow loading, if you have a website with a bad home page, they will be out immediately. And number four, online fear. Half of the population do not want to shop online because they're fear of fraud. All right. And number five, slim subscribers conversion. Because when there's a landing page that is, perfectly designed for somebody to subscribe, to take action, there's actually only 2% chance of that person will subscribe. And that is very, very low, right? So to Grow your subscriber list online. It's a slow process. Number 6, small sales conversion. Okay, as a reminder, the sales conversion online is 2.8%. That means you have to spend a lot of energy, but the probability of selling something is only 2.8%. So that can be discouraging, but if you get really good at social media, if you get really good at, promoting yourself online, you can beat that. But it does take work, okay? Now the conclusion is selling in person definitely help you to grow your business so much faster. So if you want to build your business fast and quit your 9 to 5 job as soon as possible, make sure you book some art shows. But it doesn't mean that you have to ditch those online, okay? The best thing to do is combine both of them together, okay? If you combine both of them together, you can create a business that's sustainable and that will keep you going longer because you have more revenue streams coming at all times consistently. All right, so that's my advice for you. If you want to grow a business fast and you want to quit your 9 to 5 job as quickly as possible, book some art shows and sell in person. But do not ditch the online. Make sure you grow that as well so that you have a consistent flow of people purchasing from you, creating a business that's viable and sustainable. Okay, now if you enjoy this video and you have learned a lot, please subscribe to my channel and I will teach you how to market and sell your artwork weekly. Thank you very much.